First pick draft. Okay, so we're again all the first picks that have ever been taken in NBA history, including.
You said again, like we ever told them about this before.
I said it a minute ago. I said what you bad job.
I really was like apparently not paying attention. Okay.
Including Gene Melchiori and Clifton McNeely, who never played a game in the league. Shout out to them. Every first pick in NBA history is eligible for this draft. So if you were taken first, you're eligible, including Paolo Banchero. The most recent first pick in the NBA draft. We are drafting, correct me if I'm wrong, 8-man teams.
I had 7. We can go to 8.
7. Sorry, 7.
Good.
7's good. 7's good.
Yeah.
And and this is the key, we are building a real team.
So yes, and this is I guess where we can live have a show meeting and produce this on air. Do you want to go small forward, power forward, point guard, shooting guard, or do you just want to do 2 forwards, 2 guards, a center? Because then era can be kind of you can treat this like an all NBA team, you know?
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Jeremy, how you feel?
Too many plumbers and just
to account for
construction workers in the old days to deal with. So yeah, I think I like the idea of 2 guards, 2 forwards, center, and then 2 flex. So
wild cards.
Flex. Yeah.
Flex. Oh yeah. Fantasy sports. I've played that. That works. So 2 flex, and then
do we want to have a rule that your 2 flexes cannot be the same position?
Ooh, that could be fun. Jeremy, what do you think?
Sure. Spice things up.
Spice things up. And you have to, do you want to put that you have to fill your 5 starters before you go to flex? I say no, because then if you want to, it could be strategy to stock up on one position.
I say no also, but to the listeners out there, hello, thank you for listening. Subscribe, rate, and review. You should take into account the quality of the starting lineup first and foremost before looking at, just like a real team, before looking at the bench. That is my plea. That is my plea to you, the listener.
I'll say no, but I will say there's something challenging about that. Like in fantasy sports, you just take the players and they flex automatically. But the idea that you're locked in and you have to pick a player, because here's the thing, with the number 1 pick overall, there are some incredible talents here. Like it's not like we're going to be really strapped to find a great player. So, but I'm okay with not doing that. That's fine.
Okay. Can I hit you with some facts about the number 1 overall pick and some trivia?
Can I ask one more question?
Go ahead.
For the positional designations, are we going with Basketball Reference? Are we for instance, Basketball Reference lists some players as like guard/forward. Is that player only eligible at guard and forward?
We're really show.
I think it's all NBA, all NBA focus, right? Like there are some players who are a guard and a forward, so they can get, whichever, or like forward and center. They can.
So we're going a little loosey goosey. So if someone is listed in Basketball Reference as guard forward, they could be eligible for either. Got it. Done. Yeah. Great.
Cool. Okay. The number 1 pick in the NBA draft. There have been 11 MVPs taken with the number 1 pick. There have been 19 Hall of Famers taken with the number 1 pick. There have been 21 Rookie of the Year awards that have gone to the number 1 overall pick. The team with the most number 1 picks ever. Do you guys know who that is?
I could cheat and look it up right now.
There's 2, actually. It's a tie for first. The number is 6. Do you know the
Knicks have had a lot?
The Knicks have had 4.
The Magic have had 4.
The Magic have had 4, and so has Portland. So I've eliminated 3 teams for you.
And 2 teams have had 6?
2 teams have had 6.
Lakers?
The Lakers have actually only had it 3 times.
Houston? They were so bad in Minneapolis.
Houston had it 5 times.
Ah, damn it. It's got to be a team that's been... The Warriors.
The Warriors have not had it 5 times. 5 or 3 or 4. 5 or 4 or 6, actually. I only did 6, 5, and 4.
The Wizards.
The Wizards have had the number one pick 6 times. That is correct. And the other team, the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Oh my God.
Yes.
So obvious.
Now there's 5 teams that have only had it once.
Only had it once.
The Grizzlies.
Grizzlies
I've never had it.
Have never had it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I said the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
The Raptors have had it once.
Raptors had it once. Bargnani.
I was going to say the Pelicans, but that's not true. They've had it twice.
Wait, how many teams have only had it once?
5.
Oh, Jesus Christ. This isn't easy.
The Hornets.
The Hornets. There you go, Jeremy. The Hornets have had it once.
Yeah.
Larry Johnson. Yes.
No.
The Bulls have had it once.
Yeah.
The Bulls have had it a couple times, actually.
Who else besides? No, I'm not going to say any names. So I forget who the other one was. Anyway, okay.
How about the Mavericks?
Dallas has had it once. Correct. Mark Aguirre in 1982. I was going to say the others.
Yeah, sure.
Boston
Kings?
has only had it once.
Interesting.
Which makes sense since they were picking later in the draft for most of their franchise history. And a couple years ago, the Phoenix Suns won it for the first time and only time in their franchise history. And then the real trivia that I wanted to test you guys with, there are 9 players to make the NBA Finals with the team that drafted them, but not win it. Can you name them? They're all somewhat recent too.
Wait, 9? What does that have to do with the number one pick? There were 9 players.
They made it to the NBA Finals with the team that drafted them first overall, but they didn't win it.
Dwight Howard.
So it's like not LeBron doesn't count. Dwight Howard is one.
Right.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Literally just said one. Shaq is another.
Mm-hmm.
With the team that drafted them.
Literally just said one. In the last trivia question I asked you.
Oh, is it a Cavs player?
No, what team has only had the pick once?
Oh, Ayton.
Oh, Celtics.
DeAndre Ayton made it with the Suns 2 years ago. So that's 3.
Oh, Jesus.
There's one very important one in our history.
Wait, made it and didn't win it, or made it
and didn't win it?
But then maybe won it later?
Patrick Ewing is one of them. Yes.
Ralph Sampson.
There you go.
Not to be confused
with Ralph Simpson. You're right. I also messed up. It's only 8. I wrote Ralph Sampson twice, so there's only 8. So you have 3 left. You've said DeAndre Ayton, Dwight Howard, Shaquille O'Neal, Patrick Ewing, and Ralph Sampson. One you're not going to get, and one I didn't realize it until I did the trivia.
All right, I'm going to look it up now.
So I'll just go through it. So
wait, hold on. Wes Unseld.
Allen Iverson.
Wes Unseld.
Wes Unseld was not taken 1 overall.
Oh, that's a bad job by me. Won MVP in his rookie year. He wasn't taken 1 overall.
He was not taken 1 overall. You can tune in for the next draft if you'd like.
I think I got one. What's
up? Who?
Kenyon Martin.
Good call. Hell yeah.
Well, Wikipedia helped me a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say. And the other one is from the 70s. Doug Collins.
Oh.
To the finals with the team that drafted him.
Philly or she? No.
With Philly.
Philly, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
that's good trivia.
I do want to say
trivia.
The one thing with the Celtics, because you mentioned it, Bill Russell went 2nd overall. But that whole draft, there was some chicanery that went on where it's like to do with an ice skating rink, and the owner of the Celtics had an ice show, and the Rochester Royals owner owned something where they wanted the ice show to go. Bottom line is Bill Russell should have gone first, and racism was also a factor in why he did not go to the location he was supposed to go. But it's so interesting to think of what would have happened if he didn't go to the Celtics. Might be one of the more fascinating what ifs, especially from an NBA future standpoint. But
we may be one episode away from talking about Bill Russell and his draft history, Jeremy. Yeah. So there you go. Trivia before the draft. And then John, as he mentioned the rules, we're going to draft a team of 7, 2 forwards, 2 guards, a center, and then 2 flexes. What's up?
I have to ask one more clarifying question.
What's up? Go ahead.
I'm sorry about this. So So I don't remember exactly how many years, it was at least a decade. The NBA draft had territorial selections in which, so the most famous of these, I would say arguably, actually, no, I'm not sure it was the most famous. Most famous of these around here is Bill Bradley. Bill Bradley was a territorial selection of the New York Knicks. He was the first player taken in the 1965 draft, for example. History does not mark him as the first pick in that draft. History marks Fred Hetzel of Davidson, who was the fourth player taken as the first pick in that draft. I'm sorry, I know this does not make any sense.
You're good.
We're going with the first player taken, correct?
Yes. I've sent you the Wikipedia list of every number one overall pick that we're going to go off of.
Just making sure.
Cool.
That's all.
Okay.
Pretty wild that Fred Hetzel is the highest drafted Warrior from Davidson.
Ah, wow. That's fantastic.
You know,
Jeremy, well done. Okay. You guys ready to decide this draft order?
Yes, please.
Okay. For those who have not seen us do a draft before, we do high card draw here at the Knicks Film School Podcast. So I have done a shuffle. I do not lie to John and Jeremy. At least they trust I do not lie. So I'm looking at the camera, and Jeremy, your card is a 4.
Ooh,
okay.
That's a tough beat.
Okay. And then John, although we're going in age order. So Andrew. Your card is a 10. Okay.
Can I log an objection?
John. Okay. Shuffle up. John, your card is a ace. Yes. We'll go ace high card. John is the number 1 pick. I have the second pick. Jeremy has the third pick. We are going in snake order. So John, with the first pick in the first pick draft, you are selecting.
He is number 2 in my own personal program of the greatest players of all time. He's certainly not number 1 in our hearts.
Mm-hmm.
He's a pretty good player, though. Still is not bad. We'll see if he extends in a couple of days. Okay. There are a couple of players who deserve to have their names mentioned first overall in this particular draft, but I am going with the young man from Akron, LeBron James, who was taken first overall in 2003. Question for you guys, since we didn't talk about this ahead of time, and now I'm only thinking about this. There's just so many rules.
Oh boy!
Do I have to say what position I'm putting him in right now?
Yes,
I do. Okay, that's a good call. I will put LeBron James, who is a forward/guard on Basketball Reference. So I could put him in either.
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting him at guard.
See, I feel like that's cheating.
That's a cheat code and a half.
Because
but we decided
the man's been a forward for pretty much his entire career, and it's like he finally gets to LA, and we might need you to play point guard. Can you do that?
The clarifying question for a reason.
I understand, but
the way we did this during the season, John, when we did our positional drafts, was we went to the positional estimate. So we should go with his career positional estimate, not the 1 year that he played point guard.
I specifically asked if you want to go by the first letter of the F/G or G. So if you want to change that rule now, that's fine.
Let's change that rule now. The positional estimate.
LeBron James, still my pick. Although, they got me thinking. No, still my pick. Still my pick. Forward.
Okay. I am going. Go ahead, Jeremy.
I was going to say, I was very surprised. I thought John was actually going to go with Dick Ricketts from 1955.
I thought we were getting somebody.
Milwaukee Hawks,
There's a whole list of players that my cheat sheet that I just crossed out because they're from when we didn't have television.
The grainy footage is just so good.
It was just Bob Ryan writing columns and telling us how the game went.
Leave my dick out of this.
Okay. Crazy.
Andrew.
I'm not touching that. Literally not touching that.
I don't even have to say anything.
There you go. So I'm gonna take Lou Alcindor, who eventually changed his name to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the 6-time NBA champion, the 5-time MVP, of the NBA, 6-time MVP of
Only
the NBA,
6-time winner.
19-time All-Star. The list goes: a 10-time first All-NBA, 5-time second All-NBA. It was between LeBron and we're gonna see pretty quickly that there's a lot of talent at the top of the NBA draft. It was between these two though, John. So I think we nailed it on the first two. Kareem with the second pick.
I mean, 2 of the 3 greatest players of all time. I don't think anybody can complain that much.
Jeremy, you're up.
So I get back-to-back picks, which is really nice because no pressure for me. So with my first selection, I'm going with the big fundamental, big-time Tim Duncan.
It's a nice pick.
Really one of the greatest players of all time, truly. I mean, the fact that he didn't get credit for having a quadruple double in a series clinching championship game to me is crazy because he had 8 blocks. 2 of them were definitely not counted as blocks. Should have had 10 blocks, but whatever. Hall of Fame, 15-time All-Star, 15-time All-NBA, 5-time NBA champ, 15-time All-Defensive player. Was still great, or at least at worst, very, very good until the end. So, he's my forward. Love him. He was Spurs culture. Now it's, Pop's great, but I think Tim made the Spurs. And I'm happy to have him as my number one pick.
No objections whatsoever. Greatest power forward of all time.
I think these are given the rules that we have laid out in this draft, I think these are the 3 proper picks.
I have one player ahead of Tim Duncan, but I think Jeremy's about to take him, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, I could have gone with someone larger than big time Timmy Jim, but I decided not to. Looking at the positional value as well, they just did a whole series on this man. Did 2. He was on 2 different channels. It's Magic Johnson.
Yeah, that's who I had.
The fact that there's someone who's available who is, to some folks, on the Mount Rushmore of in basketball conversations, or at least one of the 3, 4, 5 greatest point guards of all time. I can't leave with the 4th pick without bringing Magic Johnson with me. So he's my guard. Lock and load. Let's go.
Yeah, I had those 4 were my top 4 in my little cheat sheet. So we're tracking well so far. The centers here are going to be something. Okay. I am going to have to go with a guard here.
Can I want to throw something out there. Just again, we're live producing this.
Let's do it.
The Wikipedia thing you just sent me also has the first picks, not the first player taken. It's the technical pick order. So just so you guys know,
talking about an era that's so far away that we're probably not going to wind up taking many of them.
I just want to ask if a player was the first player selected in the draft, that is the person who was eligible to be picked, correct?
Yes. I want to know who is giving you pause. That this is going to come up.
Just make your pick.
Okay. I'm taking Oscar Roberts.
Good for you.
I'm taking the big O. Arguably the second. Yes, I'm putting him at guard. I'm arguably the second best point guard of all time, Mr. Triple Double. And no, I'm not referring to the dude in Los Angeles as Mr. Triple Double. You mean for you? What's up? Soon to be Mr. Bought Out in New York, New York cap filler. In a few weeks. Yeah, I'll go with the big O, Oscar Robertson. Taken in the 1960 NBA draft by the Cincinnati Royals.
I think that's a nice pick.
Thank you. Did it myself.
You like your Bucks?
Huh?
You like your Bucks, Andrew?
I do. 2 for 2 so far. Yeah.
So I'm up with 2.
That is correct.
With 2. Okay. Just making sure that I have 2.
John has 2 picks. He took LeBron James from the 2003 NBA draft. Went to the Cleveland Cavaliers.
In the year of our Lord, 1959, the first overall pick, technically, was a gentleman by the name of Bob Boozer. Hi, Bob. Went to Kansas State. Had himself a nice little NBA career, taken by the Cincinnati Royals. But he was not the first player taken in that draft. And that is because...
That is the list we're operating off of.
No, I asked to clarify a question.
We said twice. It was. We said the territorial part had no effect. We just said that.
So it is not the first player taken. It is just the first pick. No territorial picks.
No, the list we sent you in the chat.
Okay, yes, but that's why I asked the question. And I thought I was clear on the rules. Apparently, I was not. You heard what you wanted.
So clarify who you were trying to take right there.
I was trying to take Wilt Chamberlain. It was the first player taken in the 1959 NBA
You think
draft.
We would have let Wilt Chamberlain slide to 6?
Exactly.
I thought I was going to pull a fast one on
No.
I would like to formally lodge an objection, but that's okay.
You're all right. You're the Danny Ainge of drafting right now. Okay.
And you know what? That's fine by me. Okay. In that case, that's fine. That's totally fine. Totally okay with that. Because there's a lot of talent still on the board. I could go a couple of different directions here. Obviously, there's a lot of strength at the center position, so I'm going to hold off on that decision for at least a moment. And I'm going to take probably not the greatest player in professional sports history never to win a title in their respective sport because Ted Williams exists. I'm sure there's some hockey player that I don't know who they are that never won everything. And probably football is probably the better one. There's probably
Henrik Lundqvist, for whatever it's worth.
Yeah.
Who?
Henrik Lundqvist. It's actually very rare that if you're dominant in hockey, you don't win one, which speaks to the frustrations of Henrik Lundqvist being the one that didn't. You're right about football. Honestly, you're right about baseball being the one because baseball is like, it used to just be you had to play for the Yankees and then you won. But if you didn't, then
I don't know why Dan Marino is the only name popping into my head for football. I'm sure there's someone better that I'm forgetting. Anyway, I'm going to go with unquestionably the greatest basketball player never to win an NBA championship, and that is Elgin Baylor, who played for the Lakers a very long time ago. He was a very good player. I have him as one of the top 15 players ever. He was not the first player taken, though. Guy Rogers was the first player taken, territorial draft. But since you're not holding that against me, I can take Elgin Baylor. So I have my forward spots locked up. I have LeBron and Elgin Baylor. I love those two as my forward bookends. Now things get interesting because there's a couple different ways I could go here. Guard is already looking thin. It's amazing how this league... Well, it's not amazing how this league was dominated by big men for a very long time because the bigger you are, the easier it is for you to put the ball in the basket, right? And for that reason, I'm having a little bit of a tough time with this, but I gotta trust the strategy here. I am going with Allen Iverson.
Wow.
Not necessarily my cup of tea as a player, but I do believe he is the best guard left on the board. So that is who I will be taking.
It's slim pickings after this. In a way, it's slim pickings, I should say. But
I mean, you guys took Oscar and Magic. So,
yeah,
I
have him listed as my third guard. There was one I was really hoping you'd have to end up with that I'm staying away from, but also for the sake of the game, I almost have to.
He might get drafted.
He's absolutely going to get drafted. I'm saying I want you to take him is my point.
I will not be taking.
Sure. Okay.
I'll take Dick Ricketts before I take the player that you're
the one I'm referring to. Okay.
Disgusting.
Who's up? It would be me. I have a pick and I You're right about the guard thing. I also haven't selected a forward yet. So I will take, man, there's one that at his peak is legitimately the best player available. There's another one that did a lot of winning, but not as the main guy.
Well, the first one's an easy one.
What, who I'm hinting at? Yeah.
Especially because you've talked about how his peak is that incredible, but the rest of it is.
I'm actually not.
It is literally like a year and a half, Jeremy.
Yeah, but it was so dominant that it could be timeless.
Well, if we're, I'm not going to say anything else, but because again, this is part of the fun of this, because when you talk about peaks, particularly with the first overall pick in the draft, there are some. I'll speak about him if he comes up, but there's some peaks here that we could talk about.
Yes, John. Okay. I'm going to take James Worthy with my next pick. Yes.
Jeez.
I'm going to go longevity over a Flash. The Flash is so bright, though. That's the problem. I think one had a better career than the other, regardless of peak. So I'll take James Worthy.
I'm shocked.
And all
Shocked.
two of his All NBA teams.
How many Finals MVPs? How many Finals appearances?
When you play for the Lakers,
please.
Yeah.
Like you just talked about the Yankees and how you'd had to be the best player unless you play for the Yankees.
And he rose to the occasion in that stretch. Again, the other one was struggling with, you guys understood. It's literally a year and a half. James Worthy has more than a year and a half when he was like a really good basketball player.
Well, you kids have no respect.
Gosh. No, I don't. I'm sorry that I like basketball in color television. You know,
you make me want to take Anthony Bennett. By the way,
you really do.
You know who would have wiped the floor with Anthony Bennett?
Who?
Elgin Baylor, first player to raise the game above the rim.
What
you got us there, John?
We were disputing Elgin Baylor. Now, if you want to talk about Bill McGill in 1962, it's a different story.
Just make your.
I think Anthony Bennett would compete with Bill McGill.
I don't know if that Anthony Bennett fucking sucked.
He did suck. All right, Jeremy, you have 2 picks.
All right, I was shocked you did not take this player who, unfortunately, still lives in the nightmares of a lot of Knicks fans, circa 1994 and beyond.
Oh wow.
I'm going with Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon.
Center's so deep. That's why. I literally hadn't taken a forward yet. Yeah.
That's fine. I have 2 selections. I was thinking about other centers involved as you had mentioned them, but in terms of just how good Hakeem is, I didn't want to walk away without picking him.
I'm not criticizing your pick. I'm saying the reason I didn't is because I would have been locked in because we can't take 3 centers. I would have been locked in there and without having taken a forward yet. So
yeah, 100%. I mean, he was not, from my understanding, and I guess I'll lean on John a little bit more for this one because you've done the homework and you're also a little older than I am. The understanding, I don't mean that's a slight, I mean that legitimately.
I am a little older.
Objectively. It seems as though Hakeem's status as an NBA player was almost in doubt before the championship teams that
like his historical standing.
I know that it was not rings with a Z culture back then because Michael Jordan was just that good, and it's really hard to beat Michael Jordan. But that he needed to kind of rise above the hump, and by winning it once, let alone twice, that kind of put him into great company, even greater company than he already had.
It's the Giannis argument. The championship, like you said, it validated, it put him in the top 20 conversation. Winning it again, especially kids. I'm not even referring to Jeremy here. I'm referring to like teenagers that may look at Hakeem and are like, oh, he's not that great, played in the 90s. what he did in the 95 playoffs is like the stuff of legends. The way we look at the run that Dirk went through, the road that Dirk went through in 2011, Hakeem went through Barkley the year after, 2 years after winning MVP, but as the 1 seed, went through the MVP David Robinson, then went through Shaq and Penny Hardaway in the finals and swept them. That adds to the legend. The 95 playoff run is one of the best I've ever seen.
I'll add, as far as Hakeem goes, in an era where there were some defensive centers that, earned a lot of respect. He was on an all defense team, like 7 out of his first 10 years. I don't think he ever won. Oh, excuse me. He did win Defensive Player of the Year, not once, but twice, 93 and 94. And he was, I'll just read off really quickly. His MVP finishes starting, like he finished 4th in 86, 7th, 5th, 7th. And then a couple of years where it was a little bit down. And then the year before he won MVP, he finished 2nd overall to Barkley, ahead of Jordan in 1993. Hakeem was the real deal.
Yeah. All right, Jeremy, another pick.
So this is the challenging part because I need a forward and a guard. But there aren't a lot of them. There are not a lot of them. But I feel like for me, it's I see. F is for flex, not for forward.
Yeah, I should FL that. Sorry.
So are we doing how lineups work, or are we just doing the 7 best names that we can accumulate?
No, it's 7 all NBA. It's all NBA.
It's all NBA. So you are trying to make the 5 starters make sense, but your flex can't be the same position.
Can't be the same position as
each other. Like you can't take 2
you can't have 2 centers in your flex.
Or 2 guards.
I see. Got it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Cool. In that case, just based on what's available, I'm going to take another center.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'm going to go for a run on centers to force John to take some player that he might not be comfortable with. I'm going to go with Shaq.
Okay.
So Shaq was the player Andrew was talking about earlier in terms of how high his peak was.
Oh no, Shaq was not the.
Yeah, I don't think that's who Andrew was talking about.
No, I was struggling with forwards. Shaq. I was struggling with forwards is the problem.
I feel like with Shaq, listen, he was so dominant, and granted, I understand that some of this was before I was even a thought for my parents, but just the ability for the physicality, how he was able to impact winning. I mean, I'm very curious what Shaq in Orlando for longer looks like, because in today's NBA, there's no way that he leaves after 4 years. It doesn't happen.
No.
And, he and Kobe had a fascinating, complicated relationship, yielded them a 3-peat, which is pretty incredible. And then he, of course, won in Miami, was majorly impactful there with Dwayne Wade. So just how dominant he was, even though, similarly, this wasn't the player Andrew was talking about. In fact, I think I might know now if you're saying forwards, but just like even the raw stats, your basic points per game, rebounds, just so good that I can't not take Shaq.
It's as simple as this. I think John can echo this because you're older than me, but they're the 2 most dominant things I've ever seen in my life are Michael Jordan and Shaquille O'Neal. And
Shaq did
third
it in a different way.
Well, third would be Steph as far as like his perimeter shooting ability, and Shaq, the only way to stop him was let's send him to the foul line.
The term unstoppable gets thrown around a lot in pro sports. The only professional athlete that I've ever seen, personally, my 2 cents, that literally could not be stopped, it was Shaq at his peak.
Yeah.
You couldn't do anything with him.
Are you saying athlete or in the NBA? I'm just curious.
I'll be honest.
Because I feel like Bo Jackson's got to be in that conversation.
Bo Jackson was before my time. I never watched Bo Jackson live.
Fair.
If we're going that route, Barry Bonds. I understand there's an asterisk there.
But that on base percentage in what, 2004, 2003?
The stat that's floating around that he had 373 plate appearances in 2004 and he reached base 376 times is it's literally Shaq might actually be the good comp because the only way to stop Shaq was foul him. The only way to stop Barry Bonds from hitting a ball 500 feet was walk him. So it actually might be the right comp.
Yeah, no, Shaq was. There will never be another Shaq. We can just leave it at that. All due respect to Joel Embiid, ain't Shaq. Andrew,
I'm up.
You're in an interesting spot here.
Yes, I am. And I'm going to put John in an interesting spot and take a center.
Go for it.
So we've said it already. I have the all-time win shares for the number one overall pick. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is first with 273. LeBron James is 2 with 249.
Yeah.
Tim Duncan is 3 with 206. Oscar Robertson is 4th with 189. Shaquille O'Neal is 5th with 181.
Come on, Bernard. Let's go. Let's get over with.
This is where the Ozarowski in me is coming out. I will take with my pick, my second center, and 6th all-time in win shares for the number one overall picks, and it's David Robinson.
Very good player.
So can I ask you something, John?
Sure.
Jeremy took Hakeem over Robinson, and I agree with it, even though the numbers might say differently. Do you agree with it too?
Hakeem over Robinson is easy.
Yeah,
Hakeem over Shaq is a tougher one. I
didn't pick. I just got both of them.
Yeah, good job by you. My 2 cents. I mean, it is really a coin flip. I would take Shaq. I don't think Hakeem is the wrong answer, though. They are both not head and shoulders above David Robinson because David Robinson was like the safest top 3 player in the league for like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years. Like you mark him down. He's going to do what he's going to do, and he's going to be really good. He's just going to produce. Well, thank you, Andrew.
You're welcome.
Just made my life easier.
I figured. And now you get one that's sentimental. I think you get one that's sentimental.
Well, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to get a sentimental pick now because you guys can't draft any more centers.
We can't draft any more centers. That's right.
Yeah. So I actually don't need to take a center with this pick. And I don't think I'm going to take a center with this pick. One of the picks is going to be very easy. And I'm actually going to start filling out my bench right now. So this is a guy, again, when I refer to you young whippersnappers,
God,
I am aghast that this person's name, I don't even think has entered either of your minds. He is, of course, an NBA champion. He won it a little bit later in his career. He was not the player he was when he was in the MVP running, when he was making all NBA first teams, but still won it. Still led the Bullets to their only championship in history. I'm taking Elvin Hayes as one of my backups at forward because in my mind, at least, he is clearly the best forward left on the board. So as I write him down, that is one.
Elvin Hayes, the 1968 NBA draft first pick to the San Diego Rockets.
We all remember that day.
Yes.
Very clearly.
John remembers it well, apparently.
Yep.
Yes. You're
Elvin
putting
Hayes.
him as a forward. Yes.
Pretty good. Now, this is going to be tough because I am going to take a guard here because it would be crazy for me not to take a guard given that, again, you guys can't take any more centers.
And who might the next best available guard be in NBA history, John?
So I'm not going with the player that you look. Everybody, when you do these exercises, I think sees things differently in terms of how much you should weigh peak versus how much you should weigh longevity.
Mm-hmm.
But there is only one guard left on the board who won an MVP, and I'm going to take him, and that is Derrick Rose.
Oh my God,
that's
that's such a spite pick, and I respect it. I respect it so much. I have Derrick Rose on my list too. He's just behind one guy that has a little bit more playoff success than he does.
And that's fine. You can take him.
I might, to be honest. So I was shocked to. Okay, I'm between two forwards, and I might be able to get him anyway. But I was shocked when I was going through the analytics of it all to realize that this guy is 17th all time in win shares for number one picks. And then you look out the rest of the resume: 8-time All-Star, 4-time All-NBA, 4-time All-Defensive, an NBA champion. And it's actually, he's a top 75 player according to the people that voted last year.
What's the meme with the guy looking like?
There's multiple like that.
There's one I'm thinking of.
I think John just made one. So I will go with Anthony Davis.
Not crazy here. It's not crazy.
I did not realize he was 17th all time in win shares. I got to be honest. And makes my consternation over James Worthy and one other player a little weird now. But
look, if I'm taking Derrick Rose and he had however many peak years, then you take in Anthony Davis. Because I do think at Anthony Davis's peak, I mean, he's had, I don't know, 2-3 seasons as like certainly as a top 10 NBA player. You could probably argue he's top 5 one of those years.
Mm-hmm. I agree. That's why I like to pick. There's a forward that's not, I don't think that's going to get selected. That is, I think, just flat out disrespectful. But I also, looking at the rest of the draft, I don't see where he gets selected. Jeremy, you have 2 picks.
I might take him.
Well, let's see.
Yeah. See, I have a forward, a guard, and a flex spot, and I can't take a center.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, first, let's see, Andrew, you need a guard as well.
I need a guard we all need a guard.
If I really want,
I don't need a guard.
I could take. That's fine.
You do. You have a guard spot.
Actually, yeah, you do. You do need a guard, John. I could take 2 guards and just really.
Oh wait, no, John took Allen Iverson.
I don't need a guard. I have Iverson and Derrick Rose.
Gotta be. I totally forgot.
Slacking.
Oh, well.
How you like them apples?
I mean, I like him decently because Derrick Rose is great, but he also was hurt for quite a while and was out of the league and all that jazz. So,
why do you hate Derrick Rose?
It's a great question.
It's weird.
He'll be totally fine in Utah next year. Anyway,
he's gonna love Utah.
Yeah. This is it gets trickier for sure, but I think surprises me honestly. This is part of, I think, me being a younger individual.
Mm-hmm.
He's better than I think people seem to recall because he's just no longer the most talented player. And he was paid a ridiculous amount of money and then was traded almost instantly. So yeah, I'm going to go with Blake Griffin.
Wow.
Yep.
It's funny the way you were saying, building that up. There were actually 2 players who could have.
Are you thinking of the same person I'm thinking of, John?
There are a lot of them.
Well, he could pick him right now. Actually.
That's true. He could. So I won't say it.
For the other player, that's where it gets a little tricky. I definitely am going to be taking a guard. There are a couple this century who were taken, much to my chagrin. I'm going complete ball don't lie here in terms of how I pick.
Cade Cunningham? Is it Cade Cunningham time?
Is not Cade Cunningham time, although in about 5 years, I think it absolutely could be Cade Cunningham.
Might be, yeah.
Time. I think he's phenomenal. No vaccine necessary on my team.
You took
Kyrie Irving. Listen,
congratulations, you've lost the draft.
That's all right.
I think he got the best available guard, Mr. Took Derrick Rose 2 picks ago.
Yes. I understand.
Let the voters decide.
Right. Yeah. Not my favorite player, but the talent, especially the individual talent, is just undeniable for Kyrie Irving. I just think he's great. He just has not. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily pick him. Like the whole thing with when Durant was available, my philosophy was always like, I'll take Durant. I don't really want Kyrie, but if it's a package deal, I understand it. Glad my team doesn't have to worry about that. But all things being said, Kyrie Irving on the Cavaliers, that was an incredible era, especially when LeBron was there. I'll take it. Just statistically phenomenal.
No, look, it's on paper, it's the right pick. I just for anyone listening, you're like Kyrie Irving, Derrick Rose. What the fuck are you guys doing with these guard picks? Between Magic Johnson being the first overall pick in 1980 at guard and Derrick Rose being the first overall pick in 2008 at guard, there was one guard taken first overall, and it was Allen Iverson. So over a roughly 30-year span, there was one guard taken first overall. It's just, this was not a thing that NBA teams did. And, there were some guards taken in the, in like the 70s and but not, there's a reason we're taking the guys we're taking. I'll just say that.
So I need to clarify something then.
What?
Is Mark Aguirre not eligible to be a guard?
Mark Aguirre is a forward.
Is a small forward. Okay.
Yeah, Mark Aguirre is a forward.
They didn't track positional estimate back then, so I needed a call from you guys.
He is very much a forward. Okay.
Well, then that other guy that we were saying one of us might have to draft, John, I probably am going to have to draft, but I'm not doing it now. So then I will take with my other flex, I will go to forward and I will take Chris Webber.
Hey, okay. I knew that's the guy you wanted all along.
So in hindsight, I could say it now because neither of you can take another forward. Jeremy can take another forward, so I won't say it yet. Yeah, there's another forward I was thinking of that I was back and forth with between
modern guy.
No, like in the past, around the time James Worthy was playing. I actually played against James Worthy in the finals, and I wasn't able to justify it. In hindsight, the two I ended up taking, Anthony Davis and Chris Webber, were better all time than him. So,
okay. Interesting.
John, your last two picks.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear who you're referring to because I actually don't know off the top of my head. Okay. One of them, I'll make it easy. Captain. Greatest Knick of all time, in my personal opinion, Patrick Ewing. So that makes my starting lineup: LeBron James, Elgin Baylor, Allen Iverson, Derrick Rose, Patrick Ewing. Oh, I love it.
Curious where you go with your last pick.
Well, there's a few different ways I could go here. I'm not trying to screw anybody over with this pick. I don't even know how I'd be able to do that. I'm just going to give a shout out to the guy who, on paper, I think is the correct pick. And that's, and I also want to give a shout out because he just passed away in the last year, and that's Bob Lanier. Bob Lanier, kiddos. If you don't know what Bob Lanier is, go look up Bob Lanier's stats. You want to talk about a guy who was a fucking load back in the day? That was Big Bob Lanier. They didn't call him Big Bob for nothing. So shout out to him. In terms of just like pure talent, probably the greatest wasted talent in NBA history. David Thompson was the first overall pick in 1975. Yeah. I probably should have mentioned that name because one of you guys could take him. Listen, if one of you guys take him, it's a great pick. But he's really good. There's some other guys, some other recent guys I think actually do have an argument. Like, I don't know, is like, would Zion be insane here? Is Karl Anthony Towns a crazy pick here? Like, I don't know. I'm not going in either of those directions. I am going with the guy who obviously I never saw play at his peak live, but from everything I have read and listened to, when he was at his best, you could argue that he mastered the sport of basketball as much as anyone who has ever played it. And I think it's only fitting that on the same team that I have Derrick Rose on, I will also have Bill Walton. Finish off that.
Fun story. You guys know I went through that deep dive of old school NBA games from like the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
And the last memory I have of Bill Walton was like rewatching the 86 Celtics, the 87 Celtics, where they used him as a stretch four, the first ever real stretch four, because he was the backup, but he was run and gun. So it wasn't even necessarily he was a center. That was the guy I was back and forth with between him and Worthy. He is absolutely a center, but I was wondering if he could be listed as a forward center.
And I'm just going to be very clear. Like Walton, when I did my own personal NBA top 75 list, I left him off because I could not justify putting a guy on whose career as a peak player was essentially a year and a half, because there was the year he won the MVP, and then they won the championship, and then there was the next year where he played 55 games, and it was the first of many severe injuries. And even though he only played, the year he played 55 games, he won MVP. The previous year, when they won the championship, that's when he finished second. But that's it. His career was not over after that. Like you said, he played for the Celtics. He won a championship with them. He won Sixth Man of the Year, the whole thing. Like he had some cups of coffee along the way where he did some stuff, but it was just, he was a comment in the night.
So since John has picked his center, or he's done, and Andrew, we can't pick any more centers, correct?
Yeah.
It's wild to me that not one of us picked Dwight Howard.
He's the next name on my list.
That's the thing. Like and I feel like this is exactly how he was left off of the top 75 list, where there's so many great players. And it's like, well, oh, right. And I understand that he has not, outside of specifically playing basketball, there are some concerns. I think that may have played a smaller part in terms of at least the top 75, but I don't know, it's kind of funny to me how we did the same thing. We left him off of our lists when he probably deserves to be on it. Like I would have picked Dwight Howard over Bill Walton if I had the opportunity. Not to say that,
and it wouldn't have been, but it wouldn't have been crazy.
I'll be honest. If this wasn't a Knicks podcast, you could make the argument that Dwight should go over Patrick. You could make the argument. It would solely be an advanced metrics one, but
I'm the guy who once said an unkind thing about Patrick Ewing. I don't think there's an argument there. I think Patrick Ewing could carry a team in a way that Dwight Howard, all due respect to what he did on the defensive end of the floor, and what did he win? 3 or 4 defensive players of the year
in a row?
Yeah, three in a row.
3 in a row, 4 total. You're right.
No,
you weren't giving the ball
3 times.
Just 3 times? My bad.
Yep.
Yeah. You weren't giving the ball to Dwight Howard, tossing the ball to Dwight Howard in the post and saying, here, go carry us home, Dwight, because he couldn't do that. That wasn't his game. And that is still, it's a skill that has changed in execution over the last 30 years, but it is still the most important skill in NBA basketball, as it has always been. That said, there are guys who have racked up specifically, and Dwight gets a little bit of the benefit of this, all NBA selections and all-star selections, because they happen to play the center position in an era where the position was weak. The reason why I give Dwight more kudos than some of those guys, Amari is probably the classic example, is his MVP finishes from 2008 to 2012, 5th, 4th, 4th, 2nd, and 7th. Mm-hmm. That's not a guy who was just getting the benefit of the doubt because he played center. That's a good basketball player.
Yeah, I agree. You're right about comparing Patrick to the centers he was playing against. So all NBA isn't totally fair.
It's the least fair all NBA positional thing ever, that one of those guys got left off. And it's, by the way, there was, for anybody who doesn't know this, there was only 2 all NBA teams until what was it, late 80s, early 90s?
Something like that. But the point being that it was between Patrick, David Robinson, Hakeem, and Shaq.
Yeah.
So even to today's, if you went by today's teams, one of those would miss every year. Patrick only made it 7 times all NBA. Dwight made it 8. So that's why I'm saying, if you want to go by accolades, you compare them, which someone who may be younger might just look at the 2 by accolades and do it that way.
It's why you can't judge Alonzo Mourning based on all NBA, because I think he only made 2 such teams, because again, he was competing with these freaking monsters every year.
I'm stalling because
it's your pick.
I have to take a guard. There's just like no guard. There just really isn't. I think I'm about.
You got to do it.
Let him make his decision.
What do you mean? I got to do it,
John. Let him make his decision. He's good.
Are you gonna make? So there's 2. One is from John's era, and one is currently looking. Oh no, he just found a basketball team.
He did.
Yeah.
He might listen. That dude might be the starting point guard and NBA champion.
That might happen. All right, I'm gonna go with the aged better pick and go John Wall.
Okay.
Damn it, John.
Jeremy, you have your guards taken already.
Yeah, I had. Well, no, I would have flexed them. That would have been fun.
Oh, you would have put him as your. Okay, I got you. Well, I gotta be honest. I think there's a better option at modern if you were gonna go that way, Jeremy.
You mean at guard?
You don't need to take a guard. Why did I put yours there?
I don't know.
I just want to shout out. Well, no, I'll wait until after Jeremy goes.
See, this is the challenge because I was actually thinking I'll take John Wall. It'll be fine. More guards. Great. And now it's a lot more slim pickings. It's tougher, in my opinion.
I'm staring at one that I think would be egregious if he didn't. Yeah, not a guard. Just a player that, because you could take a forward or a guard, and he's eligible a forward.
It's true. I have to look through these names and see exactly who you're thinking of. But now I'm stalling for time. So.
You're good. Just to clarify, the other centers that are not going to get taken. Jeremy mentioned, I guess we mentioned Dwight Howard, Brad Doherty, Yao Ming, Walt Bellamy, who John brings
Bellamy's
up.
a hell of a player. I've written on him a few times over the last couple of years. Obviously, he was a Knick for 3 seasons, I think. But he got traded most famously for Dave the Busher, who was the first overall pick not the first pick, but he was the first player taken in a draft.
Wikipedia said he isn't.
Lies.
What do you got, Jeremy?
All right. And probably not the optimal pick personally, but once a Knick, always a Knick. I'm going to go Larry Johnson.
LJ, grandmama.
I like it.
I like it too.
That's good.
You know, not the most incredible NBA career, but
does anybody else on this list have a 4-point play in dramatic fashion?
I don't believe so.
Led to a poster that's still hanging on my wall.
You know, I know we're not talking college because if we did, we would. You know,
oh God,
Walton is certainly there, and but Larry Johnson, UNLV,
Lou Alcindor.
Yeah, UCLA, they get some good players. I actually found out recently. So Lou Alcindor had 3 schools that he was picking from. Do you want to know what they were?
UCLA,
that's
St. John's.
That's 2.
And what was the other one?
Not too far from St. John's.
Syracuse?
A little bit more south.
Binghamton? I have no clue the geography of
Princeton?
South.
NYU.
Wow. They did used to have
he's from here.
Right. But then I think they went defunct and they brought it back years later. And it just imagine if he had gone to NYU instead, it would have been a pretty crazy, pretty different.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen or remember the 30 for 30 on the Big East, but Lou Alcindor choosing to go to UCLA for college was like a wake up call for Northeast basketball, especially at the collegiate level, that like we either need to like step our game up and can't let these recruits keep getting away. And it led to what then was an emphasis in Big East basketball. And then Chris Mullin chooses St. John's over Duke. Patrick Ewing chooses Georgetown over Boston College. You know, the emphasis on Northeast basketball became a thing. And then obviously there's plenty of Syracuse and Villanova guys. And then college football showed up and took all of the good teams away. So
I just want to shout out
I was gonna say,
David.
You're the most egregious player that wasn't taken.
I'm going to shout out David Thompson again.
Okay.
David Skywalker Thompson, 2-time All-NBA first team, 1978, finished 3rd in MVP voting behind the aforementioned Bill Walton and George Gervin, and 1 spot ahead of, who was it? Andrew's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So not a bad accomplishment there. Averaged 22 a game for his career. And cocaine's a hell of a drug, unfortunately.
Oh man.
It's a reality for a lot of players.
It is the reality.
Yeah.
Yes.
And sorry, one more. Glenn Big Dog Robinson. If you're someone around my age and you probably started following the sport in the early to mid 90s, like all that dude did was score, and he never gets any respect because he never won a blessed thing. And like, I don't know, he may have made an all-star team. I don't even remember, but he was 20 a night for like close to a decade. He was really good.
So I'm going to go back to Oz Corner, to the Sabre world, and talk about win shares, because we took or mentioned every player with at least 100 win shares except one. And that is Elton Brand, who has 109 win shares for his
That's
career.
good. That's good.
That was the one I was wondering if you would take him as your last spot, but I like Larry Johnson pick anyway.
I ultimately went with LJ, but Elton Brand was the second place finisher.
Now that he's playing forward, by the way, Karl Anthony Towns might be eligible in a year or two.
So I was going to ask, maybe we'll end it with this. If we do this draft, let's say a decade from now.
Ooh.
This is a good question. I like this question. How many different spots have been changed out? So it's essentially a way of asking, like, how many players who have already been drafted number one do we think make it onto here in some form or fashion?
Go ahead, Jeremy.
I'm going to say 2.
I think we're thinking the same too.
It feels like
we may not be. We might be thinking of 2 different ones. But
so go ahead.
My 2, back-to-back years, actually. Anthony Edwards and Kate Cunningham.
So we're thinking the same too.
Okay. I thought you might be thinking Zion instead.
I
got
to tell you,
I need to see it with Zion.
This is we have LJ. I love LJ. I've interviewed him. It was just amazing. But
John
Zion,
might be onto something here. Yeah, you might be right here, John.
Zion is like, if he just stays on the court for 3 years and produces like he did in his one healthy season. I understand that's an issue, but if he does that, he goes past LJ. He just does.
So here's the calculation I'm making. I took John Wall. That's literally the calculation I'm making. I'm looking for 2 guards is what I'm looking for. Derrick Rose got selected.
Yeah.
No.
You know? So I'm looked at 2 guards. Zion would take the spot of Jeremy's flex, but I think and look, I have no clue if Cade is going to be technically a forward because he's a point forward.
No, I think he'll be guard.
So if he's a guard,
Luka goes down as a guard.
Right. So if they're guards, then you said it. Guards were not traditionally taken with this pick, and now we have more. Well, that pool might be more to choose from. That's
why, honestly, my answer is 3. In terms of how many spots get switched out, I'll go 3 because look, there's Blake Griffin got drafted in this thing. Kyrie, like you said, all the guards that got drafted in this thing. Anthony Davis, you took Anthony Davis. Like, are we sure like Paolo Banchero is not going to be seen as a better player in 10 years than Anthony Davis? I don't know that.
So in 10 years, he's going to rack up all these All-NBA, first team All-NBA selections, along with defensive player of the year votes, along with defensive team selections.
It'll be tough.
Yeah.
My number is 3 because I am allotting for the possibility that like Karl Anthony Towns continues to, do some things like Zion's in it, Anthony Edwards in it, Cade's in it, Paolo's in it. Like this talent, that has been drafted.
You can make an argument for each of our last flex decisions.
Yeah.
Bill Walton, Chris Webber, Larry Johnson.
Maybe not Webber. John Wall would be mine. I would stand for Webber in a draft like this, Yeah. Tell you, in hindsight, I'd move Webber to my other forward spot and put Worthy at the bottom. And then he would be my flex that you would swap out for Zion or name a forward, So,
should we say our teams real quick?
Go ahead. John, you first.
All right. So, I have LeBron James and Elgin Baylor at forwards, Allen Iverson and Derrick Rose at guards, Patrick Ewing at center, Elvin Hayes and Bill Walton off the bench.
I'm next. At center, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. At forwards, Anthony Davis and James Worthy. At guard, Oscar Robertson and John Wall. At flex, David Robinson and Chris Webber. And then Jeremy.
I have Hakeem Olajuwon at center, Tim Duncan and Blake Griffin at forward, Magic Johnson and Kyrie Irving in the guard spots. And my flex are Shaquille O'Neal and Larry Johnson.
This will be interesting. We're putting this one to a vote, right?
Yes, we are. This will be available. So you guys are all listening to this Monday. On Tuesday, a poll will be up on twitter.com for all of you to go and vote on who you think won. It'll be shared on the YouTube channel and other various platforms as well. Tell us who you think won the first pick draft here on the Knicks Film School Podcast.
All right. And with that, we'll bid everybody adieu. Thank you for checking out another episode of the Knicks Film School Pod. Don't forget, leave a nice review if you dig the show. Those things help us out, especially in the summertime, slow summer months. 5-star ratings are always recommended and appreciated. And until next time, we will talk to you soon. Peace out.
Whoa.
Are we changing shirts for real?
Yes. Wardrobe change.
All right, hang on.
Get a drink, whatever you got to do.
5 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I'm going to stop the recording, but leave Zoom open.
Sounds good.
Cool.